This morning I want us to take some time to go through the process that you should be using. Are you seeing the share screen? Is everyone seeing the share screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What we're gonna do this morning? Uh, One of the things that
Mine is
I
still loading.
discovered while dealing with another class is that persons have not been utilizing the resources that I'm posting on the Google Classroom effectively, and I want to go over what I expect you to do when information is posted on the stream in order for you to get the benefit of those information, because it is clear that in some instances some of you are not using resources effectively because it's evident in the work that you produce. So this morning what we're going to do, we're going to go through some of that. I'm going to give you some additional resources that you're going to need. I'm trying to load this site, but it's giving me some problem, but let's work in the meantime. But there's a site that I found with some very good resource information that I'm going to refer you to, that will assist you with still life drawing. And we have to move at a pace because there's some other things that we need to get covered. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down to this video on the neuroscience of learning. And the reason why I'm coming back to this video is because I'm not sure persons would have taken it in the way in which it was meant to reach you. Okay, it's not very long, so we're going to look at it and we're going to analyze the information that is presented and see how useful it is for us. Please ensure you have a pen and a paper close by, because there's some information I'm going to need you to take.
What's going on in the brain when you learn?
Okay. We have our pen and paper. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you, we're going to look at it twice. It's not very long, it's short, and we're going to increase the speed, so we're going to go through it much faster. And I'm going to ask you to take down some specific information as we go along. So let's listen to it for the first time. Let me know if you're hearing it clearly, please.
In order to learn anything, whether it's math, foreign language, guitar, or how to dribble a basketball, you need to strengthen pathways in your brain. Think about shooting a free throw. Know that feeling you've got it down and don't even have to think about it. That's muscle memory. Here's the thing. Muscle memory lives in the brain.
It's going too fast.
Sir, it's echoing. We're not really getting the words clear.
Someone spoke to me about that echo, and I'm wondering where is that coming from. Let's try that again.
It does this by activating specific neural pathway. Learn. In order to learn anything, whether it's math, foreign language, guitar, or how to dribble a basketball, you need to create.
Are we still getting the echo in?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's hard to understand.
Yes, sir.
Let me see what's. All right.
Right. Think about shooting a free throw. Know that feeling when you've got it down and don't even have to think about it. That's muscle memory. Here's the thing.
It's still listening, sir.
All right, hold on. Let me see what's going on. Yeah, I can hear that. Are you still getting it now?
Sorry, it's not playing.
No, but is my voice echoing?
Yep. Sorry, your voice is not echoing, but when you play the video, it's echoing really bad.
All right, let's try that again. Let me know if it's echoing still.
Muscle memory lives in the brain, not the muscles.
Yes,
Brain controls everything your muscles do.
Everything that he's saying is repeating.
All right, hold on.
Sir.
Excuse.
Sir, my daughter said when you're presenting, you have to mute yourself and play, then you have to present. So I'm not sure if that would ease the problem.
Okay, let's try that and see then.
Does this by activating specific neural pathways for each and every movement. These are neurons working together to achieve a goal.
Are you hearing it?
Say you're learning how to
Yes,
shoot a
sir.
free throw. If it's your first time doing it,
The
you
echo is
don't yet
there?
have a pathway for that movement in your brain.
Yes, sir.
You need to create it. Let's use an analogy to look at what's happening in the brain during this time. When you're first learning, your brain is like a forest full of
Here's what
trees and
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mute myself, and once I start it, let me know if you're still having the echo. So after this, I'm gonna mute myself now, and I'm gonna click it to play it, and let me know if the echo is gone. Okay,
Sir, could you raise it a bit, please?
that's the highest my laptop is gonna go.
Okay.
All right. So one moment. So I'm muting myself now, and then I'm gonna play. You know if you're hearing any.
dense foliage, with no clear pathway between point A and point B. As you learn the mechanics of shooting a free throw, you create a trail through the forest. Now you can shoot the free throw because you've created that pathway in your brain, but you probably don't make many shots because it's so new. The pathway isn't very clear yet. In order to improve your free throw, you need to refine and strengthen the free throw pathway in your brain.
Yes, sir.
The way you do that is through practice.
Sir, but
Practice
I'm not
gradually
hearing it
widens the
loud
trail
enough.
through the trees, turning it into a dirt road between A and B. You're starting to get pretty good now. You're making more free throws than not. You don't have to think about the mechanics as much. That's because the path is stronger after each, and you've done a lot of reps. With even more practice, the dirt road turns into a paved road connecting A and B, allowing information to be transmitted at a faster rate. Now you're a 70% free throw shooter, and when you step up to the line, you don't even have to think about it. Eventually, with enough practice, what started as a trail has become a full-blown highway. Now you're a master, draining almost every free throw, and the movement is completely second nature. Scientists call this plasticity, and it's your brain's innate ability to create and strengthen connections between neurons. These connections are the path through the forest. Halo Sport optimizes this process by temporarily increasing plasticity in the part of your brain that controls movement, so that your brain can create and strengthen these pathways faster than you would otherwise. We call this hyperplasticity. When you practice or train in this state, you're able to write muscle memory more effectively, allowing you to get that much more out of your practice. In terms of our analogy, Halo Sport helps you build super highways of muscle memory at an accelerated rate. It's not magic, it's neuroscience.
Good. I'm assuming that was better, right? I'm assuming that was better in terms of the echo being removed.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Good.
sir,
Very
but I
good.
wasn't hearing it loud enough.
Yeah, but that's the loudest my laptop could go, so that's going to be an issue. So you're
Sir,
gonna
I
have to.
had my earpiece and I don't know what my kids did with it, and I can't find it.
But what's gonna happen? You can always go back after we finish, because when the live is finished, I'm gonna upload it to the classroom, so you can always go back and get information. But feel free to ask questions along the way. Now, when I post video on the stream and I ask you to study the video, this is the approach that I expect you to have. What we would have done there is to go through it for the first time, because in most cases, the information that will be presented will be new to you. So you're acclimatizing yourself to the information. And then we're going to go through the second time. And what we're going to do, we're going to be much more analytical. And this is where you need your pen and paper, because there's some specific terms I need you to take down, because it's going to be very important. So we're going to go back and we're going to listen to it again. And I'm going to be pausing at different intervals to make certain points. All right.
What's going on in the brain when you learn? In order to learn anything, whether it's math, a foreign language, guitar, or how to dribble a basketball, you need to create and strengthen pathways in your brain. Think about shooting a free throw. Know that.
That's the first term I want you to write down, neural pathway.
So, I wrote that down when I was watching the video.
There you go. You're on point then. Now I don't want you to only write it down. I need you to understand what it entails as well, and we're gonna get into that. Let me just get this window up and running. Good.
Think about shooting a free throw. Know that feeling when you've got it down and don't even have to think about it? That's muscle memory.
That's the other one I want you to write down, muscle memory. Now, the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because we're in the business of learning a skill. Drawing is a skill. And there are certain fundamental things that we need to understand and we need to master if we're going to be effective at it. And the only way we're going to become effective at it is that we have to understand what are the processes that we need to go through in order to get ourselves into that place. And you can get that place where you're going to get better, where you're going to get consistent, and where it's going to become second nature to you if you don't understand the role of the brain. And this is what the neuroscience of learning is all about. And this video would have captured it in a very, very succinct way, but in a way that allows you to see the importance of understanding how the brain works and understanding neuroscience, and then doing some additional research to ensure that things make sense to you. And that's why I'm calling for you to take down these terms so that you can go check up on them, because they're going to play an important role in everything that you do, not just in this subject here, but anything that you want to master in life, whether it's a skill, whether it's business. There are certain fundamentals that you have to learn. In order for you to learn that, the brain has to go to work. And that's why it's important for you to take this information seriously. So if when you would have gone and look at this video, you weren't doing it in the way I'm doing it here now, it means that you weren't getting the best out of it.
Here's the thing. Muscle memory lives in the brain, not the muscles. Your brain controls everything your muscles do, and it does this by neural pathways for each and every movement. These are...
Now, those neural pathways is not just for physical movement, but it's also for thought patterns. It's also for things that you do on a daily basis when it comes to your life. And in this case, your artistic life. So if you have not been consistently reading, studying videos, practicing, asking questions, then you're not developing those connections that are necessary to strengthen the pathway to assist you to get to that place where learning becomes automatic and the information retention becomes easier for you, so that you can do things when you're being challenged with homework assignments and activities and that sort of thing. And it's very important for you to understand that.
Functional pathways, neurons working together to achieve a goal. Say you're learning how to shoot a free throw. If it's your first time doing it, you have a pathway for that movement in your brain. You need to create it.
And the free throw is likened on to you drawing. When we talk about construction and composition and comparative measurement, and we talk about proportion, we talk about perspective. For you, because you have not been doing it as often and you have not developed a strong pathway, you have to ensure that you're consistently working. And another term that is not part of the video that you need to write down, and we would have talked about this already, is called deliberate practice. You need to put that down. And deliberate practice has to do with doing things in a particular way repeatedly to get a specific outcome. I mean, every time I talk about deliberate practice, I like to debunk the myth of practice makes perfect, which is what we've been hearing all our lives. Practice don't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if you practice the wrong thing over and over and over, it becomes a permanent part of what you do. Whether it's your speech, whether it's your practicing of a skill, if you practice the wrong thing repeatedly, that is what the brain is going to, those are the kind of connections you're going to make with your neurons. Those are the kind of muscle memories you're going to reinforce and you're going to develop. And that's what is going to become a part of who and what you do. And that's one of the things that you need to do when you're doing your self-assessment of your work. Because if you assess what you're doing, you can see where some of the poor practices that you have had in drawing continue to repeat itself in the way you work. Whether it's you're drawing small, or you don't take the time to double check your measurements, or you forsake things like composition, and you don't remember that when you were working, the information that was given to you when we were discussing before the work started, to deliberately pay attention to those things. All of those things comes into the forming of habits, and in some cases, poor habits that takes away from the quality of the work and the pace at which you learn and improve.
Let's use an analogy to look at what's happening in the brain during this time. When you're first learning, your brain is like a forest full of trees and dense foliage, with no clear pathway between.
I want you to pay keen to improve. So pay keen analogy to this forest analogy. Pay keen attention to forest analogy, sorry, because it's going to assist you to really appreciate what it takes for you to get to the place that you need to get to in order to be consistent at producing quality drawing and quality work in all the subject areas that you're exposed to.
Point A and point B. As you learn the mechanics of shooting a free throw, you create a trail through the forest. Now you can shoot the free throw because you've created that pathway in your brain. You probably don't make many shots.
Sir,
because it's
take off
new.
the mic,
The pathway
please.
isn't very.
Sir, I was just telling you to take off your mic.
Yeah, I realized it's thing because I was split screen going. One of the things that you're gonna have to understand, and just switch the basketball analogy to you drawing. Remember now when you start, and that's where most of you have the problem. Now when you walk around and I say to you, oh, your work is not symmetrically balanced because you didn't use the dividing axis line, or I say to you that your work is not proportionate because you didn't do comparative measurement properly, or your work is slanted because you didn't pay attention to those fundamentals. You have to recognize that if you don't do these things consistently, it's going to be difficult. And when you're having problems initially, you have to recognize that you're now developing a pathway. So you have to be consistent. You cannot give up. You cannot get frustrated. And even though frustration is going to kick in at times, you need to recognize that you're at that stage where you're now encoding information. And you have to be patient with the process. And this is where consistency comes in. And that's very important for you to know and remember.
So new. The pathway isn't very clear yet. In order to improve your free throw, you need to refine and strengthen the free throw pathway in your brain. The way you do that is through practice.
Add practice to deliberate practice because it's basically the same thing, but they're both important. I hope you recognize that if you haven't been practicing your drawing, you can't feel it okay because I just sit down and I come every Wednesday and every Friday and I do something, and then after Wednesday and Friday I do nothing else, and then I come back next Wednesday, next Friday, and you hope to improve. No, it's not going to happen like that. And because you're a student, you have to make sacrifices. So you're going to have to dedicate time to these things. You're going to have to manage your time. You're going to have to structure your time, because I know that you have other subject areas that's going to be demanding of your time and attention in terms of assignments and activities and all that. But as a student, it is part of the reality of being a student, and you're going to have to make time and structure your time in such a way that you dedicate time for the practicing of things, not only in this class, but all the other classes that you intend to succeed in.
Practice gradually widens the trail through the trees, turning it into a dirt road between A and B. You're starting to get pretty good now. You're making more free throws than not. You don't have to think about mechanics as much. That's because the pathway gets stronger after each practice rep.
Now, this is the reason why when I walk around, without even measuring or without even looking at certain things, I can tell you that there are certain things that you didn't use. Why am I able to do that? Because I have the pathway that has been established over years and years of being exposed to this kind of information, reading about it, studying it, and actually doing it for myself, and then finding different ways and means of teaching it to different levels of students. So it's almost second nature to me. So when I walk around and I look at your work, I know where you're having problems, and I can tell you what you didn't do that caused you to have that problem. And I'm saying to you that if you want to get to that place where you're going to get better, you have to remember that you have to do things in a particular way consistently, so that when there's references are placed on the stream, you got to use the references. In some cases, what I do, I try as much as possible to avoid those long videos. But if I put it on the stream, it's because it's important to what we're doing. And if you don't use it, then when I come to class and I'm teaching a concept, thinking that, okay, I would have given you resources to deal with this, and then you come to the class and you didn't do anything, then you see where the problem lies. And sometimes I'm saying things to you, or I'm asking you to do things that sounds very foreign, not because it is foreign, it's just because you didn't take the time to study the video properly, or you didn't even look at the video at all. And this is something that I want you to take away from this session. Because we're dealing with online, you have to use the video resources, because that is what we have available to us at the moment. Now I am in a place where I am able to do some demos. So I have a second camera, and I would have set it up in such a way that I can do some demos, so that when we have another stream where we're doing some practical stuff, I can actually do some demo where you're seeing me actually working. But by and large, much of what we're going to be doing in terms of resources will come from the internet in forms of videos and blogs. And you're going to have to read, and you're going to have to study. And if something is not clear, it is your responsibility to ask me for clarification, because when I send it to you, I'm assuming the fact that you didn't ask a question means that you understand what's going on. But if you don't understand what's going on, and you don't tell me anything, or you don't ask any question, then I'm going to be assuming that, okay, everything is fine. And then when I give you the activity and I'm grading you and I don't see the results of what I expect to be there because it was in a video, then it says a whole lot of stuff. So you have to understand that in the teaching learning process, you have to play a role. And if I'm sending you information like just now, it was said that, okay, I'm going too fast. For me, that is not fast, because I've grown accustomed to going through videos, because the amount of research that I have to do, I have to go through a lot of videos. And if I watch them in real time at a normal pace, it's going to take too long. So I've learned to speed stuff up, and I still retain the information in terms of understanding. So for those persons who are having problems understanding, it's because you have not adjusted to that yet. And that's something I would urge you, because of the volume of information that you're going to have to cover. You're going to have to get adjusted to the fact of listening to videos at a faster rate. And it's just because it's new to you, that's why it's messing with your brain. And again, it's going to happen because it's new to you. You don't have the connections. I have the connections because I've been doing this a long time. So when you adjust, the more you expose yourself to it at a faster rate, your brain is going to adjust. It's like speed reading. There are persons who would read 1,000 words in a minute. And there's some of us, the fastest we could go is 200. And we feel that is really fast, but it's about training the brain to do things. So you have to learn to make that adjustment.
And you've done a lot of reps. With even more practice, the dirt road turns into a paved road connecting A and B, allowing information to be transmitted at a faster rate. Now you're a 70% free throw shooter, and when you step up to the line, you don't even have to think about it. Eventually, with enough practice, what started as a trail has become a full-blown highway.
And that highway is simply deliberate practice, the right information, the right processes, the right approaches, over and over and over. And all that's happening is getting wider and wider and wider. And I've used an expression in neuroscience that said neurons that fire together, wire together. And I think I would have demonstrated this to you. And the more you do a thing, after a while, it starts getting like this. And after a while, you don't even recognize the connection because it's so automatic. You don't see it anymore. You don't think about it. It's like walking. You don't think left, right anymore, because there's no need for you to do that, because the connections are so strong that your brain takes care of that. And you want to get to a place with the mastery of your skills for all your subject areas that you're dealing with and different areas in life where it becomes automatic. And the only way you're going to get there is through deliberate practice of doing the same thing consistently over again. So if you come this week and you do comparative measurement and you have your hands out straight and your elbows locked and your one eye closed and you're looking at everything, and then next week you come and you have it bent and you're not closing the eye, then you're creating confusion with the neurons. You're going to create a different set of neurons that are connecting for the bent elbow as opposed to the straight elbow. And that's where you need to understand the importance of deliberate practice and repetition. And if you're going to get good at any subject area, you have to remember it's not going to come by talk. You have to work. It is that simple. I don't care what people say to you. Those persons who master it makes it look easy, not because it's easy, but because they would have done it so many times before. It's almost second nature, and they make it look easy. If you want to get to that place, you got to be able to put in the work. You got to build the foundation, and you can't build a foundation on weak soil or weak ground. You're gonna run into problems.
Now you're a master, draining almost every free throw, and the movement is completely second nature. Scientists call this plasticity.
Right on plasticity. And I'm hoping that when I'm saying write these down, I'm not going to explain them to you because some of it is explained in the video, but I need you to go and do additional research because what it does, it puts you in a position where, because you know what it's going to be a benefit for, then you'll be able to use it more effectively. Now, in some instances, when I teach and I utilize information like this that is not directly connected to art, there are some persons who question this and question how relevant it is. But I'm hoping that you're taking the time to see how relevant this information is. We're in the business of learning. Don't ever forget that. And if you're in the business of learning, you have to understand what are the components that contributes to learning. And one of the key components to learning is your brain and understanding how that works. And you got to understand neural pathway. You have to understand neurons. You're gonna have to understand deliberate practice. You're gonna have to understand repetition. You have to understand consistency because those are all things that goes with learning. And all we're doing here is taking the science of learning and bringing it to a topic area that we're working to master the fundamentals. So we're learning about drawing. And in order for you to be successful, if you understand the science of learning, then it becomes more easier for you to gather information and retain it in a very fast way. So to look at this information and think, oh, just because there's no drawing or aspect of drawing, I'm not going to look at it, then you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot. So you have to understand the psychology of learning and the psychology that goes along with being a student and what you need to do to be successful. And that's why these kind of videos are added from time to time, and this kind of information is added from time to time in my classes and in my teaching because it's important.
And it's your brain's innate ability to create and strengthen connections between time. When you're in the brain during this time, full of trees and as you learn the mechanics, the pathway isn't very clear. The pathway in your brain gradually widens the trail through the trees, turning it into a think about the mechanics as much. That's because the pathway gets stronger after each practice rep. And you've done a lot of reps. With even more practice, the dirt road turns into a paved road connecting A and B, allowing information to be transmitted at a faster rate. Now you're a 70% free throw shooter, and when you step up to the line, you don't even have to think about it. Eventually, with enough practice, what started as a trail has become a full-blown highway. Now you're a master, draining almost every free throw, and the movement is completely second nature. Scientists call this plasticity, and it's your brain's innate ability to create and strengthen connections between neurons.
And I would write down those three terms. Or in fact, I would write down that phrase, create and strengthen new connections. Because essentially, that is what you're doing when you're being exposed to new information, whether it's in letter art or fabric design or sculpture or jewelry. You're being exposed to new information. And in order to create and strengthen those connections in the brain in terms of what you do when you're connecting two links together, how are you melting the silver in order to create your ring or your chain, that happens over a period of time. The connections are strengthened. And after a while, because you would have done it so often, it becomes second nature. And that's why it's important to understand this concept.
These connections are the path through the forest. Halo Sport optimizes this process by temporarily increasing plasticity in the part of your brain that controls movement, so that your brain can create and strengthen pathways faster than you would otherwise. We call this hyperplasticity. When you practice or train in this state, you're able to write muscle memory more effectively.
Hyperplasticity. Now, this latter part of the video, of course, you can see it's the ad section of the video to sell the product, but there's still some vital information in there that we can use. We're not looking at ALO sport, we're just looking at how they're talking about the aspects of the brain that contributes to learning and learning fast. And you can clearly see that if you get into an hyperplasticity state, it increases the amount of learning and the pace of learning that you take. And that's one of the reasons why persons talk about meditation and going in a silent place and being at peace, because those things contribute to you being in a kind of what they call a zone. And when you get there, information retention and gathering becomes easier and faster for you, and you have to find where your hyperplasticity state lies and what contributes or what gets you to that place. Because we know that if you're in an environment where there's a lot of noise and distraction, learning can't take place. You're going to have to find those places when you're studying and you're looking at videos, because if you're not there, the information retention is going to be a little difficult for you.
Allowing you to get that much more out of your practice. In terms of our analogy, Halo Sport helps you build superhighways of muscle memory at an accelerated rate. It's not magic, it's neuroscience.
Learning is not magic. Mastery doesn't take magic. It's understanding neuroscience. And if you go back and you study the lives of the outstanding persons in society in any fields that you can think about, you trace their lifestyle and you see the effects of some of these things that we would have talked about evident in their work. Any questions before we get into the class where we're looking at the specific stuff to do drawing? Any questions? How many persons would have gone through the video in the way I have just gone through it?
Sir, could you go back to your question?
How many persons would have gone through it in the way I would have gone now?
I didn't hear you clear. There's a kind of buffering with your voice.
No, the question I was asking is how many persons would have gone through the video in the way I would have just gone through it?
And like kind of putting myself into the practice of learning, because I have a weakness when it comes to like watching videos in terms of, like we said, like for drawing. I do watch other videos them, yes, but somehow like I miss certain parts of it and did not get the opportunity to go back and look and so forth. So now I'm getting in the practice that I should look at the video more than one time before I start doing my work.
You see the importance of going, and whenever I place information on the stream in all of my classes, one of the things I always say to students, study the information at least 3 times. And when I say 3 times, not one, you just run through the thing. Like, no, you in some cases might be best for you to look at it now, take a 5 minutes off, come back to it, give yourself a break, because what happens if you're not in that state and you're trying to rush through things, you're going to miss stuff. I can guarantee that. You're going to miss stuff, and it's just the nature of how we learn. Because remember, if you go back to the neuroscience video that we have just looked at, it says that if you don't have the connections, it's going to take repetition, and it's going to take deliberate practice to get to that place where you remember what to do and how to do it. And it's the same thing with information that you're exposed to for the first time. If I'm using a term that you're not familiar with, it's going to sound strange. And if you don't stop, go check a dictionary, see what's the meaning, then in some cases, because you might not always get the contextual meaning of the term, then you're going to lose the message that has been offered in the presentation or the expression. And that is one of the reasons why you have to go and you have to study the videos. And when you study them, you have to look for the deliberate stuff. If the presenter say you need to do this when you're measuring, studying means then you have to stop and you go try it and see if you're getting the same outcome that he or she is saying to you. Because if you don't do that, then how is learning is going to take place? Because you're not matching information with practice, and that's where it needs to be. Because knowledge without execution is basically a waste of time. Because if I know a whole lot of stuff and there's no doing in anything, I mean, how is that beneficial to me or anyone else? And that's one of the things that you have to remember. When the videos are explaining how you go about doing things, you have to go and attempt it to see if it's working. And if it's not working, you have to come back and see what is it you're missing. Because if it's not working, it means that you are missing some aspect of it. Because when I say comparative measurement works, and I show you that it works, and the reason why I would have shown you in reality, and then I go and I measure the actual bottom of the bottle and then compare it to how many times it fits into the height, is because I want to reinforce to you that the whole idea of comparative measurement is not a fantasy or a fallacy. It is a fact. And I would have shown you in two different ways, when you put it on the paper and when you look at it in real life, so that when you're looking at the information, you have to do the same thing. What you gather from the video, you have to go test it. And then you have to test to see if you're getting it. And if you're not getting the results, then you have to go back to the video because you're missing something. And you have to find that missing part, so that when you come back to your work now, you're working from a position of confidence. And what you're doing there by going to and fro, you're establishing those connections. And the more you do that, the stronger the connection is going to be. And after a while, you don't need certain things. All right? Yes. Next. Who's next? Samira?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I've been through the video that you sent, but not intense like how you did it with us. I look at it and I was trying to put myself trying to see where I'm at and what the video is talking about. That was it.
You see, the issue with that, and I need you all to listen carefully to this. We all growing up have role models in the areas that we intend to pursue a career in. And I'm going to use some sport analogies. If you go read the life story of a Brian Lara or a Sachin Tendulkar, you realize growing up they had cricketers that they looked up to, whether it was a West Indian or an Indian. They had someone that they looked up to. I don't care what they did. They could have sat down all the time and look at videos after videos after videos of the hero that they would have admired. If they did not get up, go out into the cricket field, go into the nets and practice batting and practice the fundamentals of batting and have a coach and listen to the coach and go through all of those stages where they fail and they score runs and then they don't score runs and they go through the process of working and working. I don't care who would have been their role model, whether it was Sir Gary Sobers or Sunil Gavaskar. If they didn't go out and do the actual work, they couldn't achieve. And that's one of the things that you have to remember. When you look at these videos, the videos are presenting information. But if you don't put yourself in a position where you take information and then you go execute, then you will know where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and what you need to do to improve. So you have to ensure that there's a working aspect that goes with it. And you need to remember that you need to study things deliberately. And that's one of the reasons why we have this live stream here today, because I realize from looking at how some of you are working that you're missing key points. And the fact that you're missing points tells me that you're not looking at the videos in the way you're supposed to be and digesting the videos and the information that's presented. In a case, you're not studying properly. How do I know this? It's because I've been teaching for so long and I've been dealing with students who have learning challenges and dealing with students who I know always like to say, oh, I can't, or I'm weak. And it's not that they can't and they're weak. It's just that they don't want to put in the work and they're not doing things in a particular way. So if you want to be successful, I put it to you that after today, I hope that you recognize now that when you see video information or blog information being posted on the stream, that your approach to it is going to be different. And once your approach to it is going to be different, your results that you're going to produce is also going to be different. It's very important to understand that. Actually,
Sir, one question. What advice would you give to us, at least me, I should say, because I accustomed to doing certain things, or we was taught to do certain measurements and so forth. And like it's hard to be consistent to the new structure now, I should say. And that is one of the things I'm getting problems with, because the way you taught us, the way you're teaching us now, and the way I was taught, it's kind of confusing now, and I don't know why. And I'm trying to put it together to It's kind of confusing, at least now, I should say. So what advice would you give to us now?
A couple of things I would say to that. Number one, you have to be analytical. So the first thing you have to do is to see what the approach that you were taught prior to coming to my class, what kind of results it would give you. So when you go and actually draw now using that methodology, are you getting the quality of drawings that you should get at this stage? And then when you compare what I would have recommended or I'm teaching at the moment, compare that and see which one is allowing you to produce more quality work and which one is really making more sense. Analyze it, because at the end of the day, education involves learning, relearning, and unlearning. And one of the most difficult parts of that process is the unlearning process. Because remember, what you have there from neuroscience, and you see where I'm going back to this video, and I can also go back to the blog that I've asked you all to read at the beginning that I know a lot of you all don't really take seriously, the Teachability Index. What are two components? Your willingness to learn and your willingness to accept change. Accepting change means you got to recognize that at some point, something that you were accustomed to doing, it didn't serve you any good, or it's not taking you to the place that you need to go at. And if you have that thing that was doing you no good all the time like this, it's going to be difficult for you to start getting into this place if you don't replace it with something else. So what you have to do, you have to compare the two bits of information and look at your drawings from then and look at your drawings now and be honest with yourself, because you have examples of good drawings. In this case, still life composition, which we were focusing on, and look and see where you are now and what you were doing then. Because if what you were doing then was the way to go, it means that the quality of the drawings then will be better than the ones that you're doing now. If it's not, then it means that that one's not working. So you're gonna have to do some unlearning, and that's how it is. Now, I'm not suggesting that because I can't dictate how other persons instruct, but I'm saying to you, one of the things you can guarantee that when I instruct, I always give you concrete evidence to show that whatever it is I'm teaching you, it makes sense. And I always say to you, go double check. And if you look at the references that I'm using, you will see the evidence is there. These videos are not just fly-by-night videos by anybody. If you listen to the content of the video, you'll know that there are persons who are very familiar with the topic area. When we're going to look at some of the examples from this particular site here that I'm going to use to reference, you're going to also see some of the same things that I've been teaching you is being taught here. Now, what is going to happen? Different tutors and lecturers and teachers tend to use different terminologies when they're describing certain fundamental things, but the fundamentals should not change. For example, persons might say construction lines. Some persons might say guidelines, but by and large, they're basically the same two things. And the reason why you use them is to ensure that you're getting the correct proportion and dimensions of the objects that you're drawing. And when you're doing those things, that's the initial stage of the drawing. That's why when I asked you to produce your assignment, I said produce it in 3 phases, because I can also tell if you were tracing, because there are some students who would have traced. I'm not saying in this class, but I would have been teaching long enough online to know when persons are tracing. And they think that they can get away with it. It's one of the reasons why I would have implemented, show me the 3 different stages of your work. Now, in the first stage, you're supposed to have all the construction lines evident there. And I would know whether you draw those construction lines after you trace or whether you would have drawn them before and then actually draw the thing, because I'm experienced enough to be able to pick those things up. So I'm saying to you, what you're going to have to recognize is that you're going to have to do some unlearning. And in that process, just don't unlearn because somebody say you have to unlearn. Unlearn because you recognize that one information is working better than the other. And in order to do that, you have to do self-analysis and comparison. Because when you're doing your work, it's the same thing you have to do. You have to compare what you have in your paper with what you're seeing in reality. And it's the same thing when it comes to receiving information, because as instructors, we don't know it all. And in some cases, I might be saying wrong things to you too. But the only way you would know that is if you go and do your additional research. If you don't do your additional research, then I'm going to sound like this man that we saying, when basically I might be telling you a whole bunch of nonsense. But fortunately for you, when I say things, I always have evidence to back it up. And those evidence are external. So it's not everything that is coming from me. So when I spoke about neuroscience, and then now you recognize I go back to the Teachability Index. I'm showing you where it's coming into play. And for those of you who took it for granted, then you're going to run into problems. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ashma.
One more
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
Practicing to draw on an easel, is that a must, I should say, or you could draw anywhere,
No, it's
like
not a
if you're
must,
comfortable?
but it's not a must. But if you're drawing from observation, your easel needs your drawing board needs to be in a diagonal position to facilitate when you're drawing. Two parts of your body is supposed to be moving: your hands and your eyes, nothing else. When you're drawing with the stuff on the table, when you start doing this, after a while, the neck muscles are going to start to get tired. And when the neck muscles start to get tired, it's going to send information to your brain. And after it sends that information to your brain, your concentration in terms of looking and recording is going to start reducing. And then you're going to produce poor quality work. That's one of the psychological reasons. In fact, that's one of the physical reasons for that particular thing. And the other thing too is that every time you bend and then lift up, that split second in between is time consuming, and then you get tired after a while. It's like if I give you a glass of water to hold now, no biggie. Hold it for 10 hours, then you start getting problems because the weight and the length of time start to become a factor. Well, it's the same thing with the bending and everything. And remember, drawing from observation is not writing. And that's one of the reasons why I often advise easel. Ideal if you don't have an easel, ensure the board is in a slanted position.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Ashma, where are you?
Right here, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, when I watch videos, like I just write down notes in this small box I have, and if I don't understand something like a part of the video, I just replay that part and like try to like remember it. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, you see, one of the things that you're gonna have to remember, and actually, I'm expecting good things from you this semester, and I'm gonna be very firm with you, and you know why I will be very firm with you. But one of the things that you need to remember is that if you are going back and things are not clear, in some cases, it might be more helpful to ask somebody. You know, and it doesn't have to be me, a classmate. It could be another tutor, and see how they explain it. Because in some cases, what tends to happen, and I know this from experience, sometimes when I explain something to a class and someone doesn't get it, I ask another classmate to explain it. Because coming from that classmate and the way that classmate is going to put it, because the classmate is not going to repeat what I say word for word. They're going to put it in their way. And the colleague might get it because the classmate explained it in such a way that it's their level. And that's one of the reasons why I would suggest that if you find that you're having those kind of issues, sometimes might be good to shoot the question on the stream and ask someone to answer, or shoot a question directly to me, or ask somebody who else who's in the same field and see what they come up with, because it might assist you in that way. But there's going to always be times when you're going to be exposed to information that's not going to be very clear, and you're going to have to seek clarification in some way. And it's part of the learning process. You have to understand that. Understand also that you're not going to get things right all the time. You're going to have to fail. You're going to make mistakes. Part of the learning process. But very often, persons get frustrated at those minor points and they give up. And that's where learning don't take place. And then you start hearing the familiar expression, "Oh, I'm not good at it." And in some cases, you perform poorly in a subject area because you got a teacher who's not doing it in the right way. And I'm not no exception to that. And in some cases, you perform poorly because you're paying attention. Might not have nothing to do with shooting, but you're paying attention. You're not doing what you're supposed to do, so that you're not maximizing the process because you're busy doing a whole lot of other things other than what you're supposed to be doing. So all of those things that you're gonna have to remember. In a lot of instances, some of you come here with habits that you've been accustomed to in the learning environment, whether it's from high school or whatever it is you're accustomed to doing, and some of it you're gonna have to unlearn. And that's gonna take some time. And in order for that to happen, you're gonna have to be consistent. It ain't gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen by you just wishing for it. Because if wishing was the solution, everybody would have been millionaires. We've been riding around in Mercedes and Lamborghinis, because I know quite a few persons who sit down and wish they were rich. I just think about it too. But if you don't get up and put work inside, how you can get there? Gotta put work. Gotta put work. Yes, yeah.
Yes, sir. So I watched the videos several times. I didn't go in depth as you went in the videos, but I did understand a fair amount of what I watched and what you said just now.
You see what you're gonna have to recognize, because like I said before, practice don't make perfect. It makes it permanent. So if your approach to watching videos is because you watch it 3 times, you watch it 3 times and then you're done, then you don't get anything from the video. But if you study the videos 3 times, and there's a difference between watching and studying. Studying means pause, go back, record, see if you understand. And if you understand, you might need to pause the video and then go to another source. For example, if you're looking at a term for a word, some words come with 2, 3 different definitions. When you go and look at a word, there might be another word in the definition that is new to you, so you can go and look at that word now. And then you go to the second definition, you find something that another word that you didn't know about first. You gotta go and look at another definition. And that's how learning takes place. Sometimes it takes you down a process road, and that is going to assist you to have a clear understanding of what is being said. So you have to understand the importance of studying, not just looking at videos. Right? So let's go to the
Okay, sir.
this particular website that I want you to look at. That's the 123 draw. Draw 123, sorry. In that, on this website, you have some very good examples of instructions to still drawing. Okay, and if you look at it, it's all there. Drawing basics, and there's a video, and then there's a video annotation to go with it. And for example, if you go to the still life aspect of it, hopefully the internet cooperate and move fast. And I'm hoping you would have made a note of this website, by the way. Good. Right here. If you look on the left-hand side here of the window, to take you to the different other sections of the website, you see they have it there broken down into chapters. Drawing, you have the drawing basics, you have still life, you have portrait, you have figure. And on the basics, you have perspective, you have drawing a cube, you have drawing a sphere, you have drawing a cylinder. And they're going to always have the written explanation, and that I would urge you to read that through because it's important. Then you have the video, and then you come down to the bottom. And that's one of the good things about this website, because it simplifies things in such a way. Here you are. Then they have the drawing, and they break everything down into simplest form. This video should not be familiar, foreign to you, because I would have posted this on the stream. Hopefully you would have looked at it. But if you look here, you can see a clear indication of the use of the construction line, the guidelines. You see the dividing axis line on the board, and you see the line to indicate the width of the top, then the line to indicate the width of the bottom. You see how the ellipsis construct. If you look at here, you can see the ellipse is symmetrically balanced. You can see the bowl is symmetrically balanced because the dividing axis line, the one that is vertical and the one that is horizontal, is there to achieve that very purpose. And if you think when I would have said to you that using guidelines or construction lines are important, if you had any doubts, now you see professionals doing it. Here is another example. The vase is the same thing. Dividing axis line, it goes vertical, and then you have it horizontal. Bottom, top. What he would have done, because there's water in the jar, he would have put a second one there. If I were doing that, I would not have done that. But again, it just goes to show different persons are going to do it differently. So even though he's doing it differently from me, the concept still remains the same, that you have to use construction lines in order to draw your objects accurately. Now, in your case, Ms. Christine, if you were comparing what was taught to you before, and you don't see it happening here, then it means that something is wrong, because now I got one to back me. And I can go to the other source, and I think I would have posted 2 other videos on the stream where persons would have used the same construction line. One woman would have used a different term to describe it. I can't remember the term she would have used. I think she called it some kind of lines, but basically it was the same thing. It's just a different terminology, because you were seeing it clearly. She was using the guidelines, and then she was doing comparative measurement. And if you want to talk about comparative measurement, I could take you to like 5 different videos on YouTube where they show you how to use comparative measurement and citing. That is what is reinforcing that me teaching you about comparative measurement in drawing to help you to draw objects accurately is something that is factual, because I can give you lots of other evidences where other persons would have mastered drawing would have used the same thing. What tends to happen, because persons, after they become professional, I really don't need to use construction lines when I'm drawing a whole lot, because it's already in the head. And when I'm making my drawing, I'm making those calculations, so I don't need to actually put it down on paper. And that's where many of us get carried away. The pros do it without putting it there, and you think that you don't have to do it. No, they would have done it so many times before that they don't need to do it anymore. So when Chanjapal walks to the crease, it is automatic that he's going to take the bail off, and he's going to drill it after he takes his guard, whether it's a leg stump or a middle stump. He's going to drill it into the pitch, mark it, and then put it back. Another batsman would go take his guard, and then he would use his spike and scratch the line. If you're a cricket person, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Different methodology, same concept. You're marking to say if you're taking leg stump guard, every time you come to that side of the batting crease, you remember where you would have marked the leg stump. So you don't have to take your guard every time you change ends. So if I hit the ball and I run a single, and then I come back after my partner take a single, I don't have to mark my guard again. All I need to do is to look on the ground, see where my spike mark is, or where the hole that I would have drilled in you to mark leg stump is. That is what a construction line is all about, and comparative measurement. And it's important for you to understand this. And again, if you see, I can go back to the video that we have just looked at the beginning, the neuroscience of learning. You're going to get a particular result. So if the results that you're getting now are unsatisfactory, it's because you're doing the fundamentals in an unsatisfactory way. And if you don't take construction line and comparative measurements seriously, you're going to run into problems. And now we're going to find out whether you're taking it seriously or not. The activity that I'm going to set for the class assignment after this class is going to be based on still life objects, and I'm going to be looking to see how much you will retain from the information that I'm showing here. And I will also know how much you have taken the time to come to this site and read a little more in detail to see how it is being expressed differently from the way I would have expressed it to reinforce what you need to learn. Make sense? Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Can you please tell us about the site?
Right there. Draw123.com. In fact, let me copy it and paste it there and send it to everybody. So you can't miss it.
Thank you.
Check this chat section. Let me know if you're seeing it in the chat section. It's there now. You seeing it? Now your mobile device, I'm not sure your mobile device is going to respond to the chat aspect of it, but it should be there in the chat section. But if not, just type in www.draw123.com and you will get it. Okay? But if you look at how he would have approached things, you see perspective. And if we go here, we've started with perspective, which is something that you're going to have to understand too. And even though we haven't looked at that in detail, it's something that we're going to look at a little later on. And again, you see writing, video, and then when you go down to the bottom, you have the actual examples that are part of the video. Now, the reason why you have this kind of approach is because different persons learn differently. Some of us are more hands-on. Some of us are hands-on and sight. Some of us are auditory. We listen well and we can do stuff. Some of us read and make better connections. And that's one of the reasons why you see this information is presented in 3 different ways. Because if I talk, and that's one of the disadvantages of the online, if you don't have the technology and the systems in place. But now that I have the system in place where I can do demo, when we're going to meet again and we're going to deal with specific things, I can show you how I approached it. But when we're in person, it's easy for me to point out certain things to you. But because of online, you're going to have to rely a lot on the videos. Right? So what you're seeing there is breaking everything down in a very simple way. So for example, if you're having problems with drawing cylinders, you come to the cylinder section. And again, if I'm incorrect in terms of telling you about construction lines and how you construct the ellipse and all of these things, it should be evident here that he's doing it differently. But when we look at what is going on, you have the video there, and the videos aren't very long, so you could go through those a lot faster. And then you come down here and you see what's happening there. In this case, what he's doing, he's putting his stuff into this rectangular shape. I don't usually do that. But when you look at it, one of the characteristics that I often talk about when I'm talking about cylindrical object is that whatever is above is also below. Not so?
Yeah.
And if you look, you see the ellipse that is in front and the one at the back. It's the same. The difference is because of perspective, the one at the back is smaller. But if you look at the one that is standing up, if you look at the thickness and the flow of this line here, as opposed to the one to the bottom, you can clearly see it's the same thing. And when we spoke about drawing, remember I would have said to you that the areas of dark and shadow are always on the opposite side of the direction of the light. If I were incorrect, then you would have been seeing that here, but I'm correct because you can see the areas light is here. It's coming from this side, and you see the dark and the shadow here. The only thing that I'm a bit concerned with what he's doing here, and that's where you need to be very critical. So you don't take everything for gospel. Remember I said that the shadows often, I never said it's always, I said the shadows often the darkest dark in the composition, depending on the color of the object. And something tells me because of the whiteness of this area, this is more of a light colored object. So to have this dark so strong and the shadow so weak, that is incorrect. And that I can say to you with certainty. Okay? I can say that with certainty because remember, I said to you when you shade to show three-dimensionality, you shade to show the effect of light on object, and then you shade to show the color of the objects that are part of your composition. And when I'm looking at how things are here, I'm guessing that the object that he's working with is a light colored object, and therefore the dark here should not be this strong, and the shadow should not be that light. The shadow should have been darker. And I would have just justified why I'm saying that is incorrect, because I am using my analytical skill to say that the strength of the light here in the light area suggests that the object here is a light colored object. Because if it were a dark colored object, the light would not be this white. It would be a little grayer on the value scale. Okay? So these are things that you have to remember, and these are things that you have to look at when you're gathering information from other sources. You still have to analyze, because if you don't analyze, then you're going to take in things to gospel and you'll be taking in the wrong thing. So the information you would have gotten in other instances, Christine, if you're not analyzing that information with what I'm giving you, then you might be missing some points in terms of who is giving you the information that's much more concrete in terms of presentation. You would have done the same thing for cubes. This is one of the objects we would have talked about. I would have referred to them as square and rectangle objects. And when I spoke about square and rectangle objects, I would have said to you that one of the things you need to understand is parallel relationship between lines. And again, let's come and see if there's parallel relationship between lines. Right, look here. This line at the top here is running this way. You're seeing my mouse, my cursor?
Yes, sir.
This one matches this one. And if we were to draw the one that we're not seeing, you see it matches two. If you come to this one match this one, match this one. So the parallel relationship between lines when you're dealing with square and rectangle objects is remains the same. And I would have said that with cylindrical object, you move gradually from dark to light or from light to dark. But with square and rectangle object, because of the angle, it's a sudden or abrupt change from light to dark. Again, it's right here. So if you had any questions about the genuineness about the information that I was giving when I was teaching this, now you know that I'm not incorrect. When you look at this, and we'd have talked about in perspective, lines that are above your eye level converge downwards towards the vanishing point, and lines that are below your eye level converge upwards towards that vanishing point. And you can clearly see that here. But again, you can still see the parallel relationship between lines on that music box. So if you're going to master still life drawing from observation, these are all things that you must pay attention to. Samira, there it does. Just
yes, sir.
Good. I just thought you all in us there. And then again, when we move on the basics, when it comes to still life composition, look at what they have there. The first thing to start with is composition. And that's why I often say the first stage of your work would be construction and composition, where you're ensuring that the objects and the shapes of the objects are constructed properly. And then you organize them properly within your picture space. And again, you have written information, you have a video demonstration, and then when you go down to the bottom, there we go. Look at the distance from the top of the object to the top of the paper. You have, if you were to draw a line here, you see that space that I often suggest that you need an inch away from the top, inch away from the bottom. You can see that everything there. Look at the initial stages of the drawing, how the lines are sketchy before things are being done in detail. So this reference source, I would advise you to use it because the fundamentals that you're going to learn with drawing from observation, when we get to the figure, is going to get more complex, but the fundamentals that you learn will be the same. And if you take the time to retain those information and make that connection, the neurons will be there. So that when you actually start working, you'll be remembering a whole lot of stuff and it becomes automatic and second nature to you. It won't be difficult. But if you don't use the information that is given to you, then it becomes difficult. Making sense? I pause there for questions. Any questions?
Sir,
Yes.
our drawing that we have to do, we have to, when we're doing them in stages, we have to take the picture of the different stage of our drawing and upload that, or just the finished one?
No, you're uploading all 3 stages. So you would upload a drawing with the first stage where you have all the construction lines still evident for me to see. You actually use the construction line and you're not bluffing me. So for example, when I look at your first stage should look something like this. Okay? As opposed to your final stage, which will look something like this. And in between, in fact, this would not necessarily be your first stage. This would be more like your second stage. Your first stage is where we see all the guidelines still evident, and we would not see any indication of you blocking out the shapes of the areas of dark and the areas of light. Okay? I remember that's something that I would have said to you when we met the last time in the park, that the one of the simpler ways to understand shading is that each light, dark area, and shadow area comes in the form of a shape. And that's what this artist would have been doing. He's just indicating what the shape of the dark areas look like, the shape of the light area, shape of the shadow area. So this will be your final stage. This will be your middle stage. And then your first stage will be that stage of all the construction lines still evident. You just have a line drawing, basically. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. So it's three stages you need.
Yes. And when you submit your when you submit your work assignment section, you submit those 3 stages, and then you submit the final stage. Also, you post it on the stream. And the reason why I'm asking you to post it on the stream is because I want your other colleagues to see what you're doing, so that they can be influenced and they can also critique what you've been doing to assist you with your work, so you can strengthen it. So it's 2 sets of uploading you have to do. One to the classroom for grading, and in that instance, you'll be uploading 3 photographs. And one stream where we're just uploading the final stage only, not the other 2 stages. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Good.
Sir, most of the times I don't get to take pictures because, like yesterday, I was doing painting in class. We had a live class for painting, and my daughter keep bothering me, and I hurried to finish this painting to submit it.
Ours is half of the breast.
Some class.
This is half the breast.
Yes, sir. So I was trying. It slipped me totally to take pictures in stages. So I just took the final picture and submitted to Miss.
But you're gonna have to remember that. Now, yes, go ahead. Someone wants to say something.
So you can go back the 2 stages we're supposed to post in the stream.
No, in the stream is only 1 stage you're posting, and that's the final stage.
Final.
The final composition. Yes, just the final composition. The other 2 that goes along with the final one, those are the ones you upload to the assignment section. And the reason why I'm asking for that, because I want to see how you'd have utilized the construction lines and how you'd have built up. And that's also I see where the person's trace or not.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily have to have those 3 stages, because I know each individual student's drawing. That's why I walk around and look what you're doing. I can tell when you trace, when you didn't follow the thing, because your lines are different. The quality of your lines will be different. Each of us have a unique way in which we draw and paint, and which we do things. And if persons pay attention, they'll be able to see that. So that's one of the reasons for that. Also, when we come back to the stream itself, I would have posted the value scale. I hope persons would have utilized that information too. Most of the value scales that would have been posted there they're not value scales from 1 to 10. But at the same time, it's still value scales. So I want you to understand the concept. And I would have posted the value scales to show you not only how you achieve the different values, but also different shading techniques. So by now, because remember we talked about that, some of you really didn't understand what shading technique you were using. I'm hoping that you would have gone through those videos and start experimenting with some of those techniques to see which one is more suitable for you and which one you're going to work with for a while to see how it works out for you. So again, the information is posted there. So that when I come to the shading aspect of the assignment that's going to be posted today, it is expected that you'll be able to understand what you're doing because the value scale was posted here. And then when we go up, this here is about communication. Now we're going to have critique sessions. And this information is allowing you, if you're having problems with expressing yourself, is giving you solutions to those problems. You see what I'm doing? For everything that I demand of you as a student in my class, I provide you with examples, some of the best examples, so that you know what I expect from you. I hope you'd have gone through the art critique session, how to analyze works of art, that was posted very early in the semester, because that's going to come into play when you're dealing with the critique, how you critique works of art. And again, these are two videos I was talking about. This way, she would have referred to them as organizational lines, which is basically the same thing called construction lines, just a different terminology, right? And if you go, you will see how she was doing comparative measurement. Ours was a little bit different because she was using a skewer and she was actually doing things in a different way. That's something that you need to explore to see if that's going to make it easier for you to draw things. But at the end of the day, whatever thing she was doing is to ensure that she's doing an accurate representation of her work. So if you didn't go through these videos and study them, then you would miss those points. And as we go further up, shading and form, and I would have included pen there because we're going to be working with pen very soon. So get accustomed to that too. And again, I'm saying to you that the information is there. If you don't use it, you're going to run into problems. A little bit more on shading on the value scale. And then we have that video that we would have seen in the, and this one here, I would have posted this here, even though it's dealing with a painter. What I wanted you to see is an example of how artists express themselves. How an artist draw from different sources of influence. Now they talk about it. So I'm hoping that you would have gone through these videos and sit down and listen to the videos. It might not be dealing with drawing, but it's dealing with art. And I want you to see the level of confidence, because a lot of what you gather from this video is going to influence in what things that you do in other subject areas too. So if you didn't take the time to do that, you're also missing out on that. So just because it's not drawing related doesn't mean that there's not information there for you to gather from it. Yeah. Because you're going to need it too when you're dealing with a critique session. And when I'm videoing you, and then I'm going to take your video and I'm going to upload it to YouTube, and then you're sounding ridiculous. And then people listen to your thing and then they start leaving mean comments. But I'm saying that it's not that I'm going to expose you to the wolves like that, but I'm saying to you, I'm giving you information to put you in a place where you can speak with authority about your work of art to anyone. And then I would have introduced this bit on art, marketing of works of art, because that's something that you need to be familiar with. I usually deal with this with my advanced classes, but I felt that it's necessary for you to start learning about these things early, because if you are going to make money from your art, or if you intend to make money from your art, you're going to have to understand online marketing. It's one of those sources that you must be familiar with. So I would have just given one perspective, and then I would have shown you that not everything you hear you got to believe, because whatever it is he would have said in this video, there's this one particular viewer who would have looked at the video and would have contradicted a whole lot of what he would have said. And what this viewer would have done effectively is to provide examples to justify why they did not agree with some of the stuff that he would have said. And that's one of the reasons why I would have posted this here, so you can see how critical thinkers think. You don't have to agree with anything that I say, but if you're gonna contradict me, you got to get evidence to back up what you're saying. If you don't have evidence, it's just criticism, and that's not constructive. Right? And of course, we are here where we are today. Questions, comments as we wrap up. Usually our streams, I'm not going to push it to be more than, sometimes it might go over an hour, as it is right now. We're 1 hour and 15 minutes into our discussion.
Sir.
But more, yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Sir, I would like to ask you, when we're having the other class, if you could do a a demo
Adjust the time.
on the Loom.
Oh,
I'm trying
what is-
to do a video with it, but I'm not getting through. I never used it.
If the internet cooperates, I could actually do one of that now. Hold on. But you're using a laptop now, or you're using your phone? Are you using your phone or your laptop?
Sir, I have my tablet because my phone tends to shut off, so I can't use that for class. So I'm using my daughter's
All right,
tablet.
Yes.
Let me do a quick run through of that, just for y'all's sake, and see if that's gonna be. Now this is the desktop version. The mobile version don't vary much from this. The only difference is the interface is gonna be different. That's all it is. But everything that you see here, you will find on mobile, is just that the interface is gonna be different. So when you come to Loom, and this is where you'll be doing your video critiques and so on from it, by the way. It's easy. And you have only 5 minutes, so you can't make it long. They have 5 free minutes. Anytime you go over 5 free minutes, you gotta pay. And of course, if you don't pay, it's just gonna cut you off. So remember that when you deal with Loom, you have 5 minutes to say what you have to say and do what you have to do. So when you come here, you go to new video. Usually on the mobile, it's gonna have the gear icon towards the side, as would be with more than which is usually how most applications would have their stuff. That thing, and then I click record. Hello?
Yes, sir. I tried it on the phone and it's way different. It's showing you this big circle here and for you to video.
Yeah, but what is going to happen? You see this interface here where you have this information, that this is not going to change. So what you have to do is remember that you have to pull that up. So I'm going to do now. Your phone is going to give you the same drop down thing where you can do camera only, where you can do screen only. And if you do camera only, it means that your face is going to be there only. Your face is going to take up this circle here is what is going to be on the stuff. And then, of course, you can increase the size of that. And this is also available on the mobile as well, or you can reduce the size, or you can do screen and camera. So if you're going to know that, if you're doing an analytical aspect of it, you're going to have to do screen and camera. It means I'm going to see your desktop, and that's going to be the desktop of your phone screen, along with you in the little corner. And you could actually move this around. By the way, this could move around. And this is one of the beauties of Loom that I like, is that you can move this. With some of the other video recording softwares, you don't have that option. And then, of course, you come down, and then you have other options here. But your options in terms of audio is only if you're going to use an external mic. But I don't think you'll need that, because you just use your phone mic, and that's going to be good enough. And of course, the quality of the video, that remains the same. And again, they tell you this thing, and then you just click. Of course, you see there, start recording, 5 minutes limit. So it warns you, so you know what's going on. You can also click on that icon to see additional information. So play around with it so you can learn different things, and you can clearly see that if you play around, all of these things you see on the mobile version of it as well. So when I click record now, what it's going to do is going to ask me which screen, and it's asking me which screen in this context because I'm on a desktop. Okay, so I can actually do my entire desktop, which means that everything that I'm doing on my desktop would show, or I can go to a specific window. And if I go to a specific window, then I can go and show a picture, or I can go to a specific thing that application that I have up, or I can go to a specific Chrome area. And because we're going to a specific Chrome area, I'm going to go to our class. So I click on that, and then I click share. And then if I'm analyzing stuff from the Chrome, and you see it's giving you the countdown. So if I'm analyzing stuff from, let's say I'm analyzing one of your work. Let's say you submit something here, and I want to analyze that here. When I click on this, this is what is going to be showing. You get an internet problem? Yeah, this is what's going to be showing while I'm analyzing. So the beauty about Loom is that it allows you to be flexible, and it brings your work into this professional area. So let's say, for example, you're doing an example and the circle is covering what you're doing. You can move it up there if you're describing that, so it don't become a distraction. And then this here is gonna this timer here. This is showing you the countdown in terms of how much time you have, so you can count yourself down and manage your time so that you don't go over it. Because that when it reaches 5 minutes, you'll stop anyway. And the only thing that's going to record is what you have there. You with me? And then this automatically is going to go because you would have established a Loom account. It's going to go to the Loom account, and it's going to always be stored in your library. And that's the convenience of working with Loom. And I would advise all of you to do it. It's not difficult to learn. And the reason why I'm saying this to you is because, as you can see from the examples of my senior students whose work and whose critique sessions I've been posting online, it gives you an idea of what you need to do to improve and where we're going, at least in my class. I don't know about other person's class, but this is something that I will continue to push, where I would force you to work using technology, because it's something that you're going to have to get comfortable with. Because in the event that you have to go and teach, or you have the option of teaching, if you can't use the technology, you're screwed. If you don't know how to use the technology, how would you be able to teach your students how to use it? Because right now, it's because I know how to use it. That's why I could talk to you about Loom. I can actually guide you to when you're having problems, and I can actually help you solve those problems. If I wasn't familiar with that, then I can't help you. And then now what was going to happen now that we can't go nowhere close to school and we can't do interaction? All this stuff got to be done online. And the reason why I was always happy to come to the park and work is because of that second camera that I've been working on. It's just because of the work around in terms of preparing. But now that I would have solved that problem, I can actually do live demo where you can actually watch to see me do certain things. Right? So I'm gradually improving the way I'm presenting information so that the more we work online, the more simplified it becomes for me, gathering information and giving you information so you understand and it's explained to you in a very clear way. So it's going to be important for you to understand that. And again, you just go to YouTube. They have some very good instructional videos. That's where I learned that guide you. It was a little bit easier for me because I've been dealing with technology a long time now. And some things is second nature to me. But I can assure you, most of what I would have learned from technology would have come from studying YouTube videos and listening to students. And the problem with the echoing that I was having that problem with the class that I had with my painting students, and they were saying the same problem. Now I didn't know that I had to mute my mic, because usually when I work with Zoom with another class, when I mute my mic, if I'm playing a video, they don't hear what is being said. So that's why my mic is always on. And I would have assumed that it's the same thing is applicable to StreamYard. And then of course, Samira daughter being exposed to the stuff would have said mute your mic. And because I'm teachable, I would have not said, oh, she wouldn't know anything. I know so much thing with technology, she can't mute my mic. But I mute my mic, and what did I discover? It was the mic that I had to mute to solve that problem. So now going forward, I'm not going to have that problem because I would have listened to the child and I learned something new. By saying all of that, you got to understand the Teachability Index. If you're listening, if you're not willing to learn, you're not willing to accept change, I mean, where are you going to go? How are you going to improve? So does that make it clear for you now, Samira?
Yes, sir. But sir, it's different on my phone. It don't give you all those options. I sent one through WhatsApp to you. What is coming up? When I click that, I'm not getting to choose a picture, because I was trying it out yesterday to send Miss the painting that I did. She said if we could add the music, we had to use music to do a painting, imaginary painting.
Okay.
So I wasn't. It has here record screen.
Okay.
Record screen plus camera and record camera only.
I'm going to show you. I'm waiting for it to come down to finish so that you can see the entire process. And there we go. See, it cuts off immediately when the 5 minutes is up. So it ain't going to allow you to talk anyway. And then what it does, it shifts into the automatic saving section of Loom. And I'm going to have to show you that. What is happening there? So bear with us the others, because you're going to still need to we come here. No, that's not it. One moment. In fact, I'm going to share my entire screen, so it's going to be easy. See there? This is where it would have gone to, and then it would have asked me to upgrade because it's limited, so I don't need that, so I close that off. And this would be my Loom account with all my recordings that I would have Loom for. This is my library. So this is the one here, and it's what it's doing now is uploading the information. So that's why it's halfway. So the video is not quite ready. But if I go to my library, you will see all the videos, which will be the same thing on your mobile. I'm gonna show you my mobile screen just now for you to see how it works there. And everything that I would have done in terms of recording will be here. So if I want to share something with you from a class from last semester, all I do is come here. She's starting to upload my stuff. This is the intermediate drawing just coming up there. And these are the others from other classes. That's advanced drawing. That's a landscape analysis. So these are all, it's just that the internet is a bit slow, so it's loading. But these are all recordings that I would have done prior to now. So if I want to share this, all I do is click, select link, and post it to the classroom. These are all examples of stuff that I would have done with previous classes. Now, you're going to switch so you can see you're going to stop the sharing. Yeah, sorry that I exit myself there just now, which is one of the reality you're going to face with technology. But if you look at my screen, I'm hoping that you're seeing clear. You're seeing it clearly? I could use my second camera. That's going to take too long. I don't want to do that now. And when you come here, you see that gear icon right to the top there?
Yes, sir.
You see that gear icon? When you click on that,
yes, sir.
That's where you can get those options. So you see, that's help, notification, and sign out. Now that's the one you want. So we're going to go back. That's one option. And you click, if you look here, that Loom icon, if you click on that, it's at the bottom, by the way. Sorry about that. If you look at the bottom of your phone, see that icon right there? Do you see it?
Yes, sir.
Good. When you click on that, if you look, remember I talk about the same options? Record video, record screen only, record whatever it is. Record screen.
Yes, sir. That is what I was asking you about earlier.
So when you click, let's say for example, we did record screen and camera. So when I click on record screen and camera, this is what's going to happen. It's going to say cancel or start now. And when you click start now, you're going to have the same countdown. See that countdown? And then you see that icon come up to the side here, the circle we talked about. And right away, you start recording there. And it's going to count down. And all you do, again, like I said before, you can move yourself around, just like on the desktop. And you put yourself wherever it is, and it's going to continue to record. The only thing I'm not seeing here, though, I'm not seeing the countdown option. But because of the limitedness, but I'm pretty sure it's recording. So that's all you need to remember. And better if you're not certain, leave it for 5 minutes, then you're going to know what's going to happen because it's going to stop after 5 minutes anyway. Okay? So it is that simple.
Samara? Where are you?
Playing in the room.
Pick up my bag from there,
So
please, and go and
I would
get your
suggest
book.
that you and just in case you're not sure if it's recording, if you pull on your taskbar, you can clearly see it's recording right there. And that is where the countdown stuff is happening. You pull on your taskbar, you see the countdown timer is there.
Thank you.
That's where you find it. If I scroll back up there, here. Okay? But you're gonna see countdown when you pull on your taskbar to the top. That's where the timer is gonna appear. And that's how you do it. Okay? So that's it. And of course, if you think you stop, and then it's gonna go to the save option, and you take it from there. All right? Any other questions?
Okay, sir. I'll try it again. Sir, it could be I'm not getting through because of my phone too. Because my phone and this tablet, it has a problem with taking out pictures. When you take out the pictures, it will take it out. But then after a while, the picture will go gray. Everything gray, and it has like a circle in the center. You wouldn't see anything. I don't know why it's that.
That might be a factor too. But what you could do though is just experiment, because you're not gonna lose anything. If once you're not satisfied with everything, you could always delete the videos that you experiment.
Yeah.
Because you have the
but I have pictures inside my gallery, But just that when you can't get to take the picture.
I given 800.
Yeah. But if you have a desktop, it's gonna be easy. On the desktop, it's easy. It's easy to roll it there.
I'm trying to get one, sir.
Different.
I don't know when I will get that.
The tablet should be good enough. The tablet should be good enough to give you some good stuff.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So I'm hoping that you would have found something of use this morning, and that your approach to your work and how you do things is going to be different, so that we can see some differences. Now look out for the assignment for this week. It's going to be posted in the classroom soon, before the day is out, and I expect you to complete the assignment on time. For those persons who have not yet submit, and let me go to share screen so y'all could see what's going on, because some of you didn't do nothing really. And I'm going to go to share screen and we go to class. I want your eyes here. Only 2 sets of stuff so far. Well, 3. 3 assigned, 3 graded, 1 turned in. This one. 4 turned in, 3 assigned. And this one. 3 turned in, 4 assigned. And I can actually go and see where those persons who have turned in stuff. And I can actually click and go through your stuff, so you can see how I go through the whole process of thinking. So it's important that you, as Samira, I recognize that you're struggling to submit stuff. What's going on?
Yes, sir.
What's the problem? Because you got to communicate with me, Because remember now, when we had the Zoom meeting, the admin said, if you submit stuff, let's start taking out marks. And it's up to my discretion whether I want to be taking out marks. Okay, this person, the only thing with this one, and that's Ashma. Ashma is still here? Ashma gone. Ashma playing. Anyway, if you notice the edge there, you need to crop that out, please. When you're taking a photograph, crop this out. And I'm saying this to everyone. It's a pity Ashma just rush off like that without me closing off the class. And they say you need to crop all this out and ensure it's square. Don't submit pictures like this to me, please. Because there's going to be a virtual exhibition at the end of at the mid-semester part of the semester and at the end of the semester. And if you submit stuff like this, it's going to be problems, because it means that when I'm cutting it, because I will cut it, I might be cutting out some parts of your work. Additionally, I'm not too pleased with the quality of this drawing because it looks too gray. I think it could have been better in terms of where it was taken in the light. And that's one of the reasons why I advise you all to take the thing in proper light. So somebody need to pass on this information to Ashma, please. She just run off like that. She didn't wait for us to close off the class. So that's our first stage, which is correct. She has all the construction lines evident. Let's see what is happening with the second stage. The only thing I'm looking at there at that first stage, this is a pen drawing, and that first stage don't look like pen to me. This is our second stage, and I can tell she's having problems with shading even before we reach to the final stage. And then we go to the final stage, because now you remember the second stage is supposed to show me where the shadow areas are, indicating the shadow areas, indicating light and dark areas. And then we go to the final stage, and let's see what's going to happen there. Bear with the internet, but at least we get an opportunity to see what is happening with what was presented, so that you can self-correct if you fall into that same category. Again, you see what's happening there? Look at the background. I mean, I don't need to see the table or the bed or the chair or whatever these things are on. I want to see the composition, which means you put it flat. And I can tell based on what I'm seeing here, if I zoom that in, I'm struggling to see the shadow areas on the cup. See that? I'm struggling to see the clear indication of the ellipse properly. I mean, it's not that the ellipse is constructed that poorly, but I'm not seeing the difference between the front and the back. It's almost the same thing, and that's because the tonal contrast is not evident. And remember now, when you're shading, if you understand your value scale, you'll understand that things that are closest to you will be darker or more detailed than things that are further from you, and therefore the front of the cup cannot have the same intensity as the back of the cup. The rim I'm speaking about here. And then there's problem with the construction of the handle of the cup here. I can tell that. The strawberries, even though they look good, got issues too. But I can clearly see that she understands the difference in terms of color, that the strawberry is the darkest object in the composition, and that is clear. But on the hair, these dark shadow areas could have been a little more defined. It's a pity she ran off and left without staying for us to look at some of this. Let me zoom it in and see if I could comment a little bit more. But you see where I'm coming from, right? So it's going to be very important for you to pay attention to these things because they contribute to your final grade. Now, if the information provided would have been used on the stream, a lot of these fundamental problems would not have been evident in our work. Excuse me. I can see improvement from last semester because she was in the class last semester. I can definitely see improvement. So that's a plus. But having said that, there's some things that she should not be having problems with here because the information was provided and it was discussed. So folks, this here, please. It ain't gonna take long for you to do that. Now, even if your paper is flimsy, edit your stuff before you send it to me. And I can tell you that she took this indoor and it's dark. That's why the paper looks so gray. Put on your light, take one of your light, because remember your phone could take hundreds of pictures. You don't like it, delete it. It ain't gonna take 2 minutes to take one, delete it. If you don't like it, take another one with the lights on, see how it look. If you don't like it, delete it, go outside, put it on the landing or put it on the back step or put it wherever it is, take another photograph, see how it look, and come up with the best possible one. These things are important because what is happening here now? It influences the way I grade. And if I were a student, I would not be playing with my grade like that. Just saying. Okay? So I recognize only you and Samira here. Christine, so y'all gonna pass those information over to your colleagues so that in future we do things differently. But I thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. And what we're gonna do instead of we're gonna try to have this at least once a week or where necessary, especially when we're dealing with new topics, so that we can really get some good information shared and we can do some demo where you see exactly what is going on. All right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you with your posting of information on Friday for our next session where our post stuff, and then of course you get the assignment before the end of the day is out. Have a good one.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.